Hi friends, it's Emily from Chasing Simple. Join me today as I make paprika chicken with roasted potatoes and taco bowls for my family. I've gotten all of my produce washed up and I'm ready to start preparing it. So I'm starting by cutting some apples. I often do this step first because my cutting board doesn't have onion or anything like that on it yet. And I cook apples in my crock pot almost every week during the late fall and early winter. And I use these with my oatmeal. I am also cutting up three bell peppers, which I will use as a side dish to my taco bowls. So one thing I'll encourage you with as I chop these things up is that I don't really feel the need to have every week meals be completely different. I've kind of decided on a bit of a uniform for my breakfast, for example, and I eat the same breakfast almost every day. It changes up a little bit seasonally as far as what I do for fruit, but other than that, I pretty much eat the same breakfast every day, and it just really eliminates a decision for me. And then with the bell peppers, I think it's a great idea to just keep your sides really simple. So I'll often just do steamed veggies or a little salad or sliced up bell peppers so that I'm having easy sides. This is a super easy sauce. It's just cilantro and a jalapeno pepper and a little bit of mayo and Greek yogurt and the juice of a lime and garlic. And it just makes a yummy, spicy sauce for the chicken. And I find that I don't have to mix up the meals so much if I just mix up the flavor palette. So this has a spicier flavor palette, whereas another whole chicken recipe that I use is more of a savory palette. And I just think that if you mix up something simple like that, you can keep your method pretty similar from meal prep to meal prep, and that just takes a lot of brain space away from cooking. I think sauces are also a great way for the adults in your home to be able to eat a more interesting version of a meal that your children will otherwise eat. So, my son won't eat this spicy sauce, but my husband and I will. Next, I'm preparing some potatoes and I'm just cubing up these Yukon Gold potatoes and I'm putting them onto a sheet pan. And I will roast these in the oven at 400 degrees until they're browned, which usually takes around 25 minutes with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and some dill. And I will serve those alongside the paprika chicken. Typically, my meal formula is a meat, some sort of starch, and a vegetable. And if I have all of those things, it feels fairly balanced to me and generally sort of fits what I'm trying to do in terms of my macros. But this week, I'm doing these roasted potatoes as one of my starches. And then I'll also be making some white rice for the taco bowls, and I'm making some oatmeal, which I eat in the morning with the apples alongside an egg and some spinach. One of the ways that I save money at the grocery store is I really don't rely on much in terms of store-bought seasonings or flavors or sauces. For the most part, I'm just using ingredients that I have on hand to flavor the food. I definitely use salt and pepper on just about everything, but then I also just open my spice cabinet and use whatever seems good. I don't really measure. I kind of know some of those things by heart at this point, but I'm just adding some salt, pepper, garlic powder, dill, and paprika to these potatoes, and that just makes for a flavorful roasted potato. And you'll see that I will season with my heart with the taco meat and also with the chicken as well. These go into the oven at 400 degrees for about 25 minutes until they are brown and crispy. And these are a great thing to keep in your arsenal for delicious breakfasts or breakfast burritos, too. I'm finishing out the sauce that I started earlier by chopping the cilantro and jalapeno and adding mayo, garlic, and Greek yogurt to this. I added a little bit of water, and I probably shouldn't have because it made it too thin, which is why I added the Greek yogurt. Plus, it'll add a little protein. So you could also make this dairy-free if you just don't add a splash of water to it. I mix this up with an immersion blender, and it makes for a great sauce. I am browning up some ground beef, and I will add to that frozen chopped onion and just a little bit of frozen chopped bell pepper that I just had a small amount of in my freezer and thought it would be good to use up. And this will be used for my taco bowls. I will serve that with rice and some store-bought salsa. That jalapeno sauce will work great on these taco bowls as well. And then I'll serve that alongside some bell pepper strips as the vegetable and as the side. I am adding to this some spices. So as promised, I've opened up the spice cabinet and I'm adding chili powder and paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, a little bit of oregano. And if I want it spicier, then sometimes I'll add cayenne or red pepper flake, but my son won't eat it nearly as well if I do that. So I try to keep it fairly mild. So my beef is all ready for my taco bowls. And now I am just finishing up the oatmeal, which doesn't have anything in it. I just serve it with these apples that I got going in the crock pot earlier. And now I'm mixing up the spices for my chicken. So I'm doing paprika and garlic powder and onion powder and a little bit of oregano and some cumin. And that I will spread onto the 2 whole chickens. And then I will roast those in the oven. Now, I do try to serve 2 different flavor palettes in the week. Like if I'm making a Mexican dish, then usually I won't do 2 Mexican dishes. I'll do something with a different flavor palette. And though this uses a lot of similar spices, and though I can use the sauce in both, to be honest, the paprika chicken doesn't really taste like a Mexican dish. It just tastes sort of smoky because of the paprika. I don't know how else to describe it, but it doesn't really taste like a Mexican dish. And I think especially since you're serving it with potatoes, then that helps it that much more not to feel that way. So I always do try to think of that, though I think that's probably not as well represented in these meals. And because we eat the same 2 meals all week long, I really want to have things that feel like they're different flavor palettes. So these 2 chickens will go into the oven, and I like to cook chickens at 300 degrees for about 3 hours. That makes for a very tender, delicious chicken that's not dry but has great color on the skin. And that's kind of what I'm looking for when it comes to a whole chicken. Typically, I will make a soup for my lunches, but I have plenty of single serve bags of soups in my freezer from previous weeks where there was a leftover serving. So I'll just be taking a little help from my earlier self for lunches this week. And there you have it, paprika chicken and taco bowls for a delicious week of meals. I hope you've enjoyed this easy meal prep and that you'll join me on the next one and that you'll like and subscribe.